Hey guys, so I am in my kitchen here doing a little painting, and I wanted to take a break and let you guys know about my 30 days without Instagram and how that went. Overall, it went pretty well. It is now December 6th, so I'm at like 36 days and I still haven't posted anything. So what did I take away from the experience? One is I'm going to keep my Instagram, and there's two reasons. Number one, when I was out this month, like I was in Southern California traveling around doing some painting, I found that Instagram is a great way to connect with people and stay in touch with them. The other good thing about it is I get to see other people's artwork. I can be inspired by other people's artwork. I find that sort of helpful. Although I don't do that much, but it's nice to have it. It's probably the best way to explore new artwork. I try to, for the month, just get my head out of the virtual world and get my head into the real world. And so I tried reading instead of like looking at Instagram before going to bed. You know, you can spend an hour or 2 hours just scrolling through and looking at Instagram stuff that just is, it's just pretty much garbage, you know? It doesn't inform you in any way. It doesn't. So I just decided, okay, no more Instagram, like before going to bed. I'm gonna start reading instead. So I started reading. At first I kind of failed. Like I tried reading, and I used to be a big reader. I went through, not so much when I was younger, but when I was in, not even in college, like, you know, I would read what was necessary, but that was it. I didn't really have a joy of reading. And then when I left college, after 2 years to go play in a band in San Francisco, and I just started devouring books at that point because it was up to me. It was my choice. And I started reading classics and reading the books that I was supposed to read for high school, and found that a lot of those books have become some of my favorites. They're really good books. Like, I hated Great Expectations, which Charles Dickens. I hated that when I had to read it in freshman year. That was above my head. But later came to really like that book. And also Great Gatsby, which that leads me to the first book that I actually successfully read in the last month, which was Great Gatsby. And every time I read that book, I'm just impressed by it. It's just, you know, definitely is a masterpiece, just a great book. So I know a lot of you younger viewers probably have to read that for high school right now and may like not appreciate it, but I just think that as I've gotten older, every time I read it, I take away more from that book and just more and more impressed by how good it is. So I really enjoyed that. And then another book that I got into that I haven't finished, but I'm like halfway through, that I really enjoy, and if you're a creative person, you may enjoy this too, which is A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway. And it's a short book and just kind of a bunch of little vignettes, like, you know, about his time in Paris as a struggling writer. Very interesting. You know, he often didn't have enough money to heat his little apartment and even have enough money for food at times. And he's married and has a small child. And then also he's sort of mingling with other creative types in Paris at the time, artists and writers, etc. Really enjoying that book. So these two books have helped me get back into reading and appreciate the state of mind and the calmness that it creates, especially like saying before going to bed. And I feel like, you know, these books stimulate thought, and I don't know, it just puts me in a different state of mind that I really find more calm, more relaxed, and maybe more optimistic about life too. So yeah, Instagram before bed is not good. Actually, scrolling through Instagram just randomly is just not good at all, I don't think. So anyway, so that's kind of been my thing. So I've been doing more reading, also been doing more playing guitar, writing songs and singing and stuff like that. So I find like those things, you know, like social media leaves you with nothing. It takes so much time out of your life, and then you're really left with nothing. Whereas if I spend my time reading, I feel like I'm broadening my view on things, and maybe, you know, like in the thing about books is you are experiencing, you know, a different time and a different place in a way that feels very intimate and very real. More real to me than if you were to see a film about it or even a documentary. I don't know, there's something very, maybe it's because the author was writing in that time, and it's kind of like a one-to-one communication, almost the way a painting is. In other words, the author sits, writes words on a page, and then you read them. And it's the same as like when a painting is done, if you stand in front of the real painting. The painter, you know, paints, and then you stand right where the painter was and you look at the painting, or, you know, thereabouts. Does that make sense? That it's like this direct communication from somebody who is living in a different time and place. And I find that really fascinating and sort of inspiring. Whereas, you know, something like Instagram, they're just random little clips that are designed to hold your attention. It's just sort of mental junk food, and it leaves you feeling like you've got a junk food hangover. It leaves you with nothing. The same thing if you sit down and play guitar or write a song or whatever. I always feel like any time spent on guitar, like if I'm sitting and I'm writing songs or painting a painting for that matter, or doing something creative, I always feel like the time is really rejuvenating and well spent. You know, in other words, at the end of 2 hours of sitting working on music, I may have a song, or if nothing else, I may have made a little breakthrough in singing or guitar playing or whatever. Or if it's painting, I come up with a product at the end of that 2 hours. Whereas with, like, you know, originally it was with television, I felt was like kind of a waste of time and never watched much TV. But now it's like everybody's carrying a TV in their hand. At the end of 2 hours of Instagram, you've got nothing. You know, and I would argue that YouTube is different, because YouTube can be a waste of time, and there's a lot of garbage on YouTube too. And but you can also spend time on YouTube inspiring yourself and learning something. So I find YouTube is not, I don't consider it social media. It's a totally different thing. And hopefully, you know, you can focus on channels or content that actually inspires you to go into the real world and actually do something in the real world and have a real world, you know, three-dimensional experience. Unfortunately, you know, the world is moving more towards this virtual world, and I think our minds are occupied a lot more. I would say there's some young people whose mind, you know, their head is in the virtual space like 99% of the time, you know, and that's kind of scary. And as, you know, as these sort of platforms become more and more realistic, whether it's gaming or even our interaction with social media and stuff like that becomes more and more engrossing, I think that the temptation is to spend more and more time in that space and less in the real world. Anyway, I'm turning into kind of a rant, but yeah, so overall my experience I think was really good. I do think that it's valuable. Instagram is definitely valuable, so I'm not getting rid of it. I will use it, like I said, to promote my work and to share like different you know, things that are happening in my, you know, shows, etc. But that's it. Anyway, I'm going to cut off here, because otherwise I could just keep going and this would turn into a podcast. But I'm in the studio here. I just did this like large sunset painting, and maybe I'll do a video like kind of talking about what I do in the studio. I did just make a video for my Patreon channel, link down in the description below. In the winter time when the weather's not so good, I do a lot of painting in the kitchen, so I give a little kitchen tour. Thanks so much to my Patreon supporters. If you want to help, like I said, link in the description. Patreon really helps me keep going making these videos and everything. And like I said, there's a bunch of like sort of, you know, different items there, like videos, and then also I have like a supply list that's got all my supplies and everything with links on where to find it online. So you can check that out. But anyway, it is beautiful outdoors. I am going to go out and do some plein air painting. So next time you see me, I will be outdoors. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I will see you in the next video.